Hey guys, sorry I caught up on some sleep. So let me go ahead and weigh in. I haven't read everything and I haven't heard any of the voicemails. From what I see, this isn't an issue that you either have to be nice about or mean about or step on anything. It's just very factual. There are differences in the subjectivity of the art itself, but that's not really the problem here. The problem here is the science in the approach to the scoring, particularly with homicides, because there's two different scoring systems being used. I see three that follow the classic approach. You know, somebody they weren't that good; they were maybe halfway there. This person knocked it out. You know, where you get basically you're using the number of points that you have to give as a 100-point scale, and somebody was either halfway there or all the way there. What I see is homicide is using a more absolute scale where you first rank them from 1 to 16, and then you do a spread from 0 to the maximum number of points. Um, so you have three judges taking a more classic approach, and then you have one that's using a different vision to the approach of scoring itself. So what ends up happening is like somebody does a dive off into a pool, two backflips. Someone's holding up a 7, someone's holding up an 8, and he's holding up a 0 or a 50. And so the scoring process doesn't work if you're not all using the same system. Um, and what ends up happening is you only end up having to look at the one card ever to see who won, you know. So basically, you all have to get in line in terms of your approach to scoring, regardless of your opinions of the cosplay itself or the subjectivity of it, because this is a scientific problem that needs to be looked at. So if you're a programmer, say, and you wanted to do stick and carrot, and say, well, this is a 0, this is a 20, to encourage behaviors one way or the other. Um, it's a cold approach to making change. Or if you're going to train a dog, you'd say, nope, stick, hit him on the nose, it's a 0, or good boy, 18. The problem is this isn't one person. This is 15 different people. And when you have someone who's done three wardrobe changes and did a training outfit and four or five different environments and a boxing and this and that, and you give them a 0, it's really uh, it's demoralizing, to that individual person because they're only one person. Uh, so you're not really encouraging behaviors or distracting from it. You're potentially causing damage to the legacy and the integrity of the system, the contest itself. So that's got to be looked at so that you guys are all on the same page in terms of how you're scoring. Because this is for fun and people are coming, they want to participate. They're putting a lot of work into this. Even Star Maker, with all the errors and insensitivities that it has, if you don't even sing, you get a C, and then they got all the bots to encourage you and all that. So there's got to be a little bit of that sensitivity in it as well. Um, but basically, if somebody shows up and they've put a lot of work into it, they're already halfway there. You know, you can't give somebody a 0 for something because at that point we're not looking at the contestant. We got to look at you and say this needs to be fixed. This is not in line with our objectives, the amount of effort, the amount of work that's being put in, and just how the scoring is being done in general. So that's what has to be looked at, and it's neither a mean thing or a nice thing. It's just it's a scientific thing. That's got to be fixed because these scores they're outliers. They're not in line with everything else coming through. 8 points. Yeah, it's not so much even the scores are kind of an issue, but it's like, okay, well, such and such had best craftsmanship, such and such had best vocals, such and such had best costume. So which one got number one? None of those fuckers. Justine, who wasn't distinguished in any area. It's like, what? Well, the way you predict the future and understand things is it's not by accusing people of things or knowing certain things. What you do is you imagine what would be a reasonable thing for them to think as humans who are have insecurities and have ties and biases and things like that. So it's guesswork. You know what I mean? And it's usually accurate because people are people and people are subject to bias, whether they know it or not. So um, it's easy to call.
I don't know that there's any bias, or I don't even know that they know anybody in this group of competitors. You know what I mean? Like it's a brand new handful of people that I barely know any of them. I know them now, but I think I look at the scores and I'm like, I have never in my life seen a score of 15 people with such a vast difference from up to 34 points, I think it was, down to 2-0. Like, come on. Like, they're being really hard on them. And I'm sorry, but like, MJ, yeah, she did. She got in the top three, which was awesome. But some of her scores, I'm still like, I question them. And she's the only one I looked at real close. I'm going to look at the rest of them soon. And I went right over to Abby and I was like, you need to look at these scores. They're not. Homie's is off. He's really off. To be that picky. He was really good last season, but he's something's off with him this time around. But the thing is, my judges need to, yeah, they need to remember that cosplay is wearing a costume that they put together as it represents what they see the character as. It is a real character, but it's also their interpretation. We want to see their own touch in it, according to what the definition of cosplay is. Why am I not asleep right now?
Now, if you listen to my messages about my concern about the judging, it's that Abby and Homicide are together, obviously. So what I was saying was last week is Peppermint tends to be kind of risque, and I know Abby's not going to see that favorably, and Homicide probably better damn well not rate her high is what I'm saying if he knows what's good for him after the event, because he's got to live a life, and this is why judging is difficult. And it was worse than I even imagined. I thought maybe they would gloss it over, but 1.1 point. The bottom line is you got to reassign one of them next time because they're not good for each other in a judging capacity, and it's gonna queer the results, and some people are gonna. I don't know if they're gonna pick up on it, but they're gonna feel like I couldn't have done that bad. Um, that's just one of those things. But at any rate, you run the best damn show in town. This contest is unbelievable. Technical things aside, uh, I've not seen its equal in any capacity, from promotional materials to the time put in and just attention to detail and just how much fun it is and how engaging and the comedy, and it's a really fantastic project. Um, so anyway, I'm not giving you hell. It's just the way I see it from reasonable. I like them both. I've always liked Avi and Homicide's fantastic. Um, but this was something that I called in advance, and it happened. And there's just no good reason for it, right? So um, I'm on record, and you either agree or you don't. But think about it. So from this point of view, I will not be sharing these scores with anybody, absolutely anyone at all. I don't think any good would come of it. But as someone who's also kind of a coach for authority, looking at not even Peppermint, but a cute lady who did John Travolta and Sandra Dee, and where's the room for improvement, and how do I take these scores and up the ante next time? And I look at those costumes, and I don't know. What do you think? I don't think they could have been any better. I mean, I'm shocked at how good they were, particularly the John Travolta. Uh, there's nowhere to go from there.
You know that Abby's not judging, right? It is something to think about what you say. And I agree. We don't even think about how things like that can affect our good judgment. Yeah, I knew that before you even said anything. Abby's not judging, dork.
Of anything petty, but uh, homicide scores. His scoring system is going to have to be in line with the other judges. I think what he's doing is he's first rating them in order, from 1 to 16, and then he's doing a spread that shows that without it being like too terribly obvious. But you can't give somebody 0 points for costume. You can't do that unless they're naked, you know. So I don't think it has to be a confrontation or anything, but I think you need to point out that there's, one of these is not like the others. There's four scorecards, and if you're taking a test, if you get an F, you know, you're still getting half the points, right? You're not getting a zero unless you don't show. Um, so just stuff like that, but in a constructive manner, and just show them that look, your scoring system is not like the others. It's not going to produce the kind of results that we're going to need, and you're essentially deciding all of the contests yourself doing it that way. So either everybody's going to have to do it that way, or uh, you're going to have to. It's like hitting the bell. How far does the thing go up to hit the bell? It's like it did not hit it at all. Maybe it went up halfway or went up three-quarters of the way. But I mean, I think it's fair to say that 50% is like the starting point for showing up. Abby's not judging. Yeah, you're right. That's an oversight. So basically, just half my concern. Who's? Let's see who that other person. Out of line. That's interesting. Uh, what is Abby doing then? So yeah, in my model, um, out of line would have scored peppermint high, and that didn't happen. So I don't always get it right, but I probably the way to go about this is to remind them that this is ultimately it's for fun, um, you know, and that the winners will be merit based, but um, we do appreciate people, coming and joining, and a zero is just it's really demoralizing in a really unnecessary way. And it is because Peppermint's already she's one of those who's like, oh, I don't sing very good, even though she's good. She's not, but I mean, she does a good job, and to walk away with a zero and all that, she feels like she earned a zero, and she doesn't know what to do, and I'm like, just chill, please, just relax. We'll get it worked out. But just remind Homicide that because he is a nice guy, so it's just weird. I just don't see him writing zero. I just I just feel like there's some kind of influence there. But because if anything, he'd be someone who's like, hey, have some points, fuck, I don't care, That's how I see him. I don't see him as being very critical, like at all. And if I can say, to be real, that if we didn't think Homicide was a little, special, uh, if it was me and that was my scorecard, the only possible conclusion you can make was that I deliberately made my person win because that's how you do that. It's not even artful. It's a brilliant person. You'd charge them with a crime. He made his choice win. above all the scorecards. Um, but I think we're all kind of like, he's homicide, you know. Uh, I hope that's the case because if not, if he is really sharp, then he is cheating. You're seen? What do you mean? I still got to go back. The all the desires. I would say that I'm a person that values getting it right, not necessarily being right. You know, like if we have an argument or something and it turns out I'm wrong, I see that as a win because I don't have to be ignorant about that thing the rest of my life. I learned something, right? So um, I try to take out all the biases and all the desires and the needs and the human fallibilities and just see what is really the problem, and because that's the only way you can really fix anything. So I would say, yeah, problem solving ability. I do pretty well, for sure. Well, I always see wit as a sign of intelligence for sure. That's how I can zone in on you and tell you're definitely empathically and intuition wise a genius as well. So uh, yeah, you can just discover things through analysis and all that. And I don't know. I hope that I listened to what I said a few times over, and I might have gone just a little too far, more than I want. I'm not trying to manipulate, but I definitely didn't want it to make it look like I was advocating for anyone because I'm not. Whoever was in that zero spot, I'd be advocating for. But yeah, that's basically the bottom line. Is Bella is ferocious. She may very well take the whole thing. I don't feel like the outcome was horribly queered or anything, but at the same time, we don't have to alienate people. But my point is, like, if you have a machine that 15 people are going to go punch a punching bag, and you want to see how many pounds per inch they hit. Somebody hits 50 pounds per inch, and then 35 pounds per inch, and then someone punches it, and the needle stays at zero. I think 100 out of 100 people would go look at the machine automatically. Did someone kick out the plug, or what's wrong with it? It's failing to register, the impact that this person had, and it's keeping me from doing my job. So that's basically what I was trying to illustrate. Um, about his scoring system. But since you're allowing me a little credibility, the further analysis, if I make some other observations about his scoring system, several different things. If you're a judge and you each have 20 points to give and you want somebody to win, it's a frustrating situation because you don't have more points to give than anybody else. So what you would do strategically is you would create an artificial scarcity of points. All right. And you do that by, this person got a two, they got a three, they got, wow, this judge is really, really hard to please. But then somebody gets an 18, boom, an enormous leap. And you're like, well, that's fishy. Uh, I guess they're not really that hard to please. Someone can take all the points and be, somewhat better, marginally better, but it's a little curious. The second thing is in creating an artificial scarcity of points, you'll see that 85% of the contestants are half the points are under. There's a very narrow range. So this tends to be evidence of deliberately creating a scarcity of points. Um, but on a learning level, on a human level, it's also showing that he's not taking all the performances as a curve for what's possible. In other words, they're not even falling linearly. He's creating an algorithmic jump from 80% to the top 20%, which also appears to be deliberate. Um, the other thing is background. Like you're creating this thing, and in 10 years from now, it's going to look a whole lot different, and you're going to have all this ironed out in ways that you could not do now because of the resources you have to work with, friends, people people you trust. Ideally, you wouldn't have judges who have people from their families, in the contest at all, or you would have other judges. You wouldn't let them rate their own. You'd have a substitute card for other judges, and everybody, would do everybody else's family, things like that. Um, but of all the people that are involved in this that are involved in cosplay, you have all the people who are good at cosplay and have an interest in it and a history in it, in advocation positions, and all the people judging don't seem to have any background in it or any interest in doing it or any history of doing it. Um, so you would think that someone like Homicide would be learning as he goes what is possible and what can you do with this. But he's substituting his own judgment over the judgment of participants, people who do this. And he's saying that over 80% of them are no good at this based on what standard. So these are the questions. If you're trying to get at, is this person doing something untoward, or are they learning as well and getting better at it? Do we give them the benefit of the doubt? All of the evidence seems to suggest, and again, I don't think it's him, to be honest with you. I think obviously substitute judging. I guess I can get things wrong, but I don't ever get it like all the way wrong. And if my gut says there's influence here, and then you say, well, she's not even judging, well, then the truth probably is that she may be the only one judging. So these are the things you want to watch out for. Bella's fantastic. Is she twice as good as Cute Lady and everybody else? No, I think maybe 10-15% spread. In the Western world, we grow up, anything under 60% is failure. If you want to be mean, give them a 59%. Just give them that little extra kick. But zero says, who are you? You're in this contest? I'm sorry, who are you again? It's what's the point? It looks like something's going on. Scale, A, B, C, D, F of an idea. Um, well, one thing you can do also is you have access to all the scores from season one. So you can look at those and see if this is a difference in scoring from the way he did it last time, or if it's more in line with the way someone else did it. You can keep those answers to yourself, but you can figure out the truth of that pretty quickly, probably. Um, so I know what it's like to have a germ of an idea like this, and you get really hot on and excited, and yeah, we'll have one judge do this and one judge do that and all that. I'm so invested in that I don't necessarily want to let it go either. It seems really cool. I think what we do is you look at all the other contests out there that are socially accepted, American Idol and stuff, and you see that there is a panel of judges, and this is a nod to human bias and preference. The fact that there is subjectivity, so you want multiple opinions, unlike in medicine, which is more a science. You run all the tests. This person has cancer, but you say, go get a second opinion. That's not the same. That's a method of dealing with human empowerment and the five stages of grieving. The first of which is denial, and the fact that you have to do this so that people are the captains of their own ship. To give that impression. But in the judging, it's very subjective. So there's already a nod to fallibility and bias, and so you have multiple judges, um, so that you can account for that and get some different opinions in. But when you do separate it into the different categories, like craftsmanship and vocals and all that, you don't do that anymore. You haven't accounted for the subjectivity. You've given each person full reign over each domain. So there is no way to tell um, how each person thought about each other person's categories. So I think Matt is on the right track by saying have everybody judge everything, because that would be the more classic way that these things are done. Um, so that'll show you transparently the differences in subjectivity between the judges. It'll also more readily identify a rat, but it won't solve the problem, because you can still do the same technique, and build all that potential energy for those extra point bombs. So the solution to that would be to have far less points. Go back to the 5-point scale. so that you can't save them up big and you can't make as huge an impact. And then also make it very clear that 5 is mastery. 3 is a very average offering, probably what most newbies would give. 2 is it was pretty bad. 1 is absolute failure, and zero's not on the scale. It's 1 to 5. You can't give a 0. It's not allowed. So you get everybody to agree to that system. Everybody rates all the same things, and there's not as much room for manipulating the scores in any one card. Is probably the way to go. I would be very comfortable with that. I think everybody would be very comfortable with that. And you know, the losers, people take this stuff very very seriously. Some of these people who lose, particularly in the way that they lose, they never come back. When I was polling for people to come back, like, oh, it's a lot of work. What they're really saying is it's a lot of work for the payoff. That it wasn't something that satisfied them or made them feel like they were on the right track or whatever. And then some people who did really well, still got really pissed, and it caused problems in my family and whatnot. So people's emotions and expectations have to be factored in. So that's my 2 cents. 5 point scale. A, B, C, D, F. Everybody judges everything, and everybody on the same page as to the interpretation of what the score they're about to give means to everybody who is going to see it. So this is not, didn't get to all the videos, and that's an enormous pile of horseshit. In the costume, no mention of the digital thing or that it was, lack of underwhelmed or anything. More effort in the costume that Glitzy advised on and could not have been better. There's no way it could have been better. I cannot fathom a way it could have been better. It was perfect. It was right on. The hair and the clothes and the act. Watch that again. Or Sandra Dee is she's sitting there, spinning her tea and kind of looking around all vulnerable and innocent and aloof. And Danny's, raising the eyebrows and the up nod and the all ways that she is not in real life, because she's not a very confident person. And so for her to pull that off, I mean, the acting was phenomenal. And what a great time she had doing it. And, it didn't have to be the best, but you couldn't have improved on it. It had to be in the 16, 17, 18 range. It had to be. I can't imagine a reasonable person looking at those characters and saying, I kind of see the resemblance. It's horseshit. No, I think the statement is self-explanatory. The explanation would be they didn't give enough effort in hair and makeup. I mean, what else can you say? The problem is it's horseshit.